All right, guys. Welcome. Happy Sunday, first of all. Welcome back to another episode of Invest Smarter. Let's check out what is in store for us today. We only have one property, as the last time that I saw that got listed on the MLS. I haven't looked at the numbers yet, so I'm excited to share that with you guys. Nothing has really changed in terms of interest rate. We're still sitting at a 6.22% average interest rate across the country for a 30-year fixed mortgage, okay? And then as far as the market is concerned here in the Tri-County area, Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach, and Broward. Kind of set them all over the place here, right? But you can see that in the last 7 days, right? 1,867 houses came onto the market, and we have had 1,991 price decreases. So we're still trending pretty much about 100 houses having price decreases every single week versus the new ones coming onto the market, and it's just the trend. Recently, where we're having more houses with price decreases than houses even hitting the market. So it's a pretty strong buyer's market, and we're starting to see that in the rental properties that come up for sale. We see that people are giving them away for amounts of money that make sense. If you saw these properties, I don't know, back in 2022, right, 2023, people that were selling these income producing properties wanted a fortune for them. I remember the guy across the street from my first duplex, right? I bought that duplex like around $350,000 or $375,000, and he basically had the same amount of square feet that I had, but he had like added he split up one of the one of the three bedrooms, and he made it a triplex. And because of that, he was actually able to sell it for $800,000. Now somebody bought it from him. And I know how they bought it from him. They bought it from him using a DSCR loan, meaning that they were able to prove that the property made a certain amount of income. But I think that the lender kind of messed up because they only considered, I don't know if it was private money or what they did, but I know this from the real estate agent that I spoke to him, they only used the month where the Airbnb got the most amount of money, right? So like whether it was the summer months, whatever season it was in South Florida, probably like January, February, or October, right? Where you have a lot of snowbirds coming in. They rented it out for a crazy amount of money, and then they were able to substantiate a price that wasn't worth it. And so now I know that the new owners are losing money on that house every single month, and it's just sad. So that's what we're trying to avoid in this channel, guys. It's not the same market. We're in a completely different market now, right? He could never get $800,000 for that house. Otherwise, I think he would have sold it. But we're not in that market anymore. We're starting to see good deals, properties that come up. I think that the numbers that are left on the screen are from yesterday's. We found a property that was a 0.92, right, which is not bad. 0.92 in the 1% rule world is not that bad of a property. It's actually in the green zone for me. It means like, hey, we got to go check this property out. But with all that being said, let's look at the properties that are available today. New multis in the last 24 hours. Oh, another one came onto the market. Awesome. So we have two properties to look at. Let's sort them by price per square feet. The first one we're going to take a look at is in Miami-Dade County. All right, guys. So we're going to look at two properties. Let's put up. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that. What I did mean to do was go over here and say we're going to look at two properties today. Let's see what properties we're going to look at. The first one is in Miami-Dade County. They are asking $629,000. So let's put that in the calculator. 629, 1, 2, 3. All right. Taxes. They said they're paying $7,300 in taxes. 7,309 to be specific. Square feet, 1,512 square feet. It's a duplex, guys. For a duplex, you could probably expect that there's two bedroom, one baths in here, just based on the size, right? They might be able to squeeze a 3-bedroom. Flood zone X, which is a good flood zone to be in, and concrete block construction. So the big bad wolf could come and blow, but this house probably won't fall down just because it's made out of concrete. So all right, let's take a look at the pictures. Quick look at the pictures. It's probably cropped out for you guys. Let me try to make this better for you. There we go. All right. So not bad. This looks nice. And this was in Miami-Dade? Yeah, Miami-Dade. All right, cool. Pictures. Okay. I love the floors. Simple kitchen, simple lighting, stainless steel fridge already included. I like the design. I like everything. Wow, really nice. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, let's see what they're getting for rent every single month. They are not telling us here. The realtor didn't add it up. Let's look at the guts of the deal. It's two bedroom, one bath homes in Miami-Dade, new impact windows, yada, 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 everything completely done. All right, guys. Well, what do you think that these could rent out for? You know, if you're in Miami-Dade or if you've been in Miami-Dade, right? What do you think that these could actually rent out for? Right? So leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. All right. Now I'm going to show you guys something. These are the median prices for Miami-Dade and Broward County. Okay. You can see them right there. I pulled these. These are very recent. And so for 2 1s, the median is $2,300. This property looks pretty nice. It could probably get to $2,300. So it's actually put there already. It's kind of like I already reviewed this property. Nice. The difference is that from the last one, this one is $629,000. They want more money for it, guys. It's not a terrible deal, right? It's not in the reds. By the way, if you're seeing this for the first time and you're wondering what the hell is a DSCR, it's debt service coverage ratio. It's a fancy word that lenders use to say, will the rent cover the mortgage? Okay. Mortgage being the principal, the interest on the mortgage, taxes, and insurance. Okay. And at this point, right, it would cover the mortgage and then some. All right. Most lenders are going to want to be able to see that it makes at least a 1, right? That it could cover the rent completely. So this ratio is a 1 right here. Most lenders are going to want to have a little bit of wiggle room, right? Because like if you can't get the rent that you say that you can, whatever, they want to see maybe like a 1.1. Once you start getting to a 1.25, it's going to be easy for a lender to give you money. Pretty easy for a lender to give you money to buy this, right? As long as you have a decent-ish credit score, right? Probably like around like 670. Ask a lender. I'm not a lender. Okay. That's what they told me when I go out and ask them for money. So with that being said, the 1% rule is a 0.73. What it actually translates to, guys, is that if you bought this using 25% down payment, or even a 20% down payment, you would be cash flowing on day one. The property would be making you some sort of money. Okay. If you bought this FHA, just again, because you're so leveraged, right? You're going to get a much bigger loan. It would take you a while to be able to cash flow on this property. Specifically, right? FHA down here, you can see to buy this property, you would need about $22,000 down payment. But guys, this is the beauty about real estate and that people don't understand. It's that, yeah, it's not the greatest deal, right? Like there are better deals out there. The deals that we saw yesterday are better than this. But dude, with $22,000, right, over the life of the mortgage, which is 30 years, this property will probably make you $1.2 million. Okay? That's a 56 times return on your investment. In percentages, it would be 5,600% return on your investment. Where else do you get that, guys? You don't get that in the S&P 500, all right? Look at the wealth created, guys, right? This property starts creating wealth for you even if you buy it FHA on day one, okay? Yes, it's not going to make you cash flow if you buy it with using FHA or 10% down payment. But even if you buy it using a 20% down payment, you would start making a little bit of money on year one, okay? So with that being said, this property is a, hey, go take a look at it. It's not a, hey, like go put it under contract, but it's not terrible. Let's look at the next deal. Okay, let's bust out our calculator. This one is at $720,000. Okay, but it must be bigger because the price per square foot is less. Taxes, they're paying $12,938 in taxes. Okay, square feet, 1571. Okay, it's not a whole lot bigger, but it's bigger. This is the fourplex though. Okay, so they're saying that this is the fourplex. It's got to be a tiny fourplex, guys, because I mean at 1,600 square feet, and if it's a fourplex, do the math. You're probably like at 400 square feet or less per plex, right? Per unit. So They're saying that they're getting 5950. So before we put just 5950, right? Well, now I'm putting it crazy. Putting it there, right? It would kind of make sense. All right. It's a 1.25 on the nose for the DSCR, which is pretty good. Let's take a look at the guts of the deal. Let's take a look at the pictures. Oh, wrong property. Here we go. Okay, it doesn't look terrible either. Oh, damn. The box ACs. Well, that's a look, box ACs thing. Some people hate them. Some people like some landlords love them, right? No tenants really love them. But the deal with the box ACs for me is that as long as this is not a flat roof, which we'll take a look at in a second. We can't see it, didn't put more pictures. But as long as you don't have a flat roof, it would be probably somewhat easy, not necessarily the cheapest, but easy to go ahead and put central AC in these houses. You would be able to improve the house a bit and maybe get more rent where it would pay off, right? The increased rents would pay off the additional expense to put this stuff. And maybe in, I don't know, 5 years, it'll finish paying itself off. And then for the other 25 or however long you hold the property, it's just going to be money in your pocket, right? It's going to be fresh money in your pocket. Easy way to increase the value of the property. The rest of the property, man, this looks pretty good. Grass is cut. I mean, whoever listed this knows what they're doing. They didn't put a whole lot of pictures. I know there's this picture here. It looks pretty again. You know, the flowers, everything. Very smart to clean the property up on the outside. On the inside, it's not like, I don't know what the hell is going on with that deer, dude. I would like, I don't know, Photoshop that or put something over it, painted the whole thing. I don't know. But it's not terrible, right? It's not terrible. Of course, could be nicer, but it's not terrible. Let's take a look at the guts of the deal itself. It's in Hollywood, Florida. Very familiar with this area. There's great opportunities in Hollywood, Florida. Okay, so he says it's a fourplex. Let's make sure that it's a fourplex. And so I'm clicking on this link. It'll take us to IMAP. It'll tell us like if this is actually a fourplex. Units, 4. All right. Accurate listing. So they say it's 3 studios, right? 3 studios and 1 2-bedroom, 1 bath. The 1 2-bedroom, 1 bath is rented at $2,000. And then the studios are rented at different amounts of money. Let's put that here. $2,000, $1,200, $1,550, and $1,200. So it's not bad at all, guys, right? It's actually probably a little bit better than our last deal that we looked at. This one, like I said, you could get a loan on it and be cash flowing from day one. Okay, it's a 0.83 in the 1% rule scale. So it's almost, for me, it's 0.9 and up is like, hey, we got to go look at this property. Okay, get some eyes on it, verify the rent, etc. But here's the interesting part, guys, right? He says that there's 3 studios and that for one of the studios, he's actually getting $1,550. So there's 2 things. Either that's an anomaly, right? And then in reality, this is a $1,200, right? And which makes the deal not as good. But what if we can make the other ones also lease out at $1,550? What would the deal look like then? And now we're in the green. You know, we're 0.9, 0.92 on the 1% rule. You know, we're 1.4 on the DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, right? It'll pay your mortgage and then some. If you bought this with a 10% down payment, you would be cash flowing, getting some kind of cash back in 3 years, right? You would cash flow if you bought this with a 20% down payment. And of course, if you bought cash, you'd be cash flowing on day one. But even if FHA, even if you bought this using FHA, guys, which by the way, you would only need to have $25,000 saved up for your down payment. Okay, 3.5% down payment. Look at the difference. The last property that we saw, we were talking about it making like 57 times the return on investment. Look at the difference that a little bit of rent makes. This one could make you 72, almost 73 times, right? Your initial return on it would just make you an ROI of like 73 times, right? So you would get, for $22,200 that you invested today, over the life of this loan, you would get $1.83 million. Not bad, not bad. Again, look at the wealth created, guys. Cash flow, again, you can see it right here. You know, if you bought FHA, it'll take you right? Right around about 5-6 years. If you bought using a 10% down payment, you're cash flowing after like year 3, 4 here. By the way, if you're seeing this bump and saying like, hey, why is this bump here? Why does a 10% borrower start making money all of a sudden, like around this period? And that's because the 10% borrower is going to have this thing at the beginning of his loan called a PMI, private mortgage insurance. And until he has 20% equity, okay, he's not going to get rid of that. However, when he could prove that he has 20% down, he has 20% equity in the home, meaning that he's paid down that additional principal and that the house is appreciated on its own. With that stuff together, he could show that to the bank at a new appraisal and drop that PMI, right? So he sees like this really nice like increase in cash flow. So all in all, guys, this is another property I would say like, hey, go take a look at this property, or call your real estate agent and see what's going on. We analyzed 2 properties today, guys. Both of the properties make sense to do some additional due diligence. Don't throw these away. Like I said, if you guys have any questions on how to do that additional due diligence, we don't cover that here, but you want to look what area they're in, right? You want to verify that those are the actual rents. You want to go look at the property, obviously, and then if you decide to move forward, there's a whole list of due diligences that your real estate agent should really guide you on. All right. Again, any questions, please leave it in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and have a beautiful rest of your Sunday. See ya.